Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Gatherings of Light. This is Eva, and I'm expecting Cody to be a couple of minutes late today, and that's totally fine. It's a new year, 2024, and I wish you all the very, very best outcome of this year because last year was such a horrible year for many of us. There was so much to process, and I really do hope that 2024 kind of will be a lot smoother than 2023 was. So, welcome to another year and a new episode of Gatherings of Light. And we are going to chat with Cody today, and he is going to talk a bit about the Egyptian gods. We are going to talk about Ra, we are going to talk about Amun, and I think he said Thoth. I don't know how you pronounce it. Tooth, Thoth. I don't know. But you do know who I mean. And this is the Egyptian gods. I do know that there has been a lot of talk about Ra, and there has been a lot of talk about Horus. And these Egyptian gods are similar. They have this we are calling it falk, the head of a falk, and you might say hawk. And Ra has this sun disk above his head, and that is similar to why they are calling him the sun god. The sun was very, very important to the Egyptians. And hopefully, Cody can clarify a few things about the difference between Horus and Ra more, and a bit about what Ra stands for. I have always personally been very fascinated by Ra, and ever since I was a little girl, I do know that I read somewhere about Ra, and I had this visualization when I was standing outside that I put up my palms and with the palms towards the sun and visualizing a triangle with the points up and how the triangle by itself took in the rays of the sun and how this energizing energy from the sun transformed itself into my body. And to me, that's kind of healing. I would like to call it healing. I'm sure you can have a lot of different aspects of what you're about to do with this energy and how to transform it. I have some other information about Ra, but I'm going to wait for Cody to join us. And to tell you the truth, I have no idea how long it will take, but he has messaged me here and said that he will be a couple of minutes late. So there is also a dictionary about Ra with prophecies that he has been channeled by. I can't remember the name, but I'm sure Cody, who is an expert of names, will remember who channeled that prophecy. And but I do know the history about it. There was a three persons who took upon themselves to, I was about to say experiment, but I think it started like an experiment when they started to channel this collective called itself Ra. And I also believe that the many of the gods of Egypt are collective, Sirius collective, Ra collective, but the collective by itself is represented by one title, like God. So this collective came through and made some, what should I call it? Galactical guidance that are, you can apply them in on every single living entity throughout the universe, like a law, universal law, and they call it the law one. That's the name. So we are going to search with Google the law one. You can download law one for free. I know that I have been doing that for a very long time ago, but you need to search for it. A lot of people have also made, oh, Cody's here. I'm just going to let him in here. Made a prophecy of a prophet on selling the law one, but it is out there if you want to search for it, so you can find the law one. Welcome, Cody. I'm so glad that you are here. We can't hear you because you're muted.
Okay. Can you hear
There
me?
you are.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Happy New Year, Cody.
Yes, Happy New Year to you as well.
How are you?
So, I guess.
So? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you have a good New Year's Eve?
I guess, I don't know, I didn't really celebrate it with anybody or anything. There was very loud fireworks outside my house at midnight, so that was a good, or not good, but it definitely woke me up, if you will. And yeah, and we have a dog here as well, and the dog was just freaking out, and I was like, yeah,
Poor thing.
yeah.
Well, I'm blessed with two dogs who doesn't really care about the noise, but I have had a dog earlier, many years ago, and she was terrified for everything that sounded thunder, fireworks, everything. So my heart goes out to all the animals that felt very, very bad. But
Yes.
besides that, it's so beautiful to see the fireworks. I do love fireworks. I don't use them, but I love them. So we are already live here, and I was starting to talk a bit about Raw, and I said when you went on that I had downloaded this Law 01 with Raw for some time ago when David Wilcock talked a lot about the Law 01 and Raw. So I do know that you can download it for free for those who are curious about what that is. But a lot of people are selling the material right now. So, but the choice is yours. You can search for it. Well, welcome once again, go to Gatherings of Light, and we are here to talk about the Egyptian gods Amun, Ra, and
Thoth,
yes,
or Thoth, Thoth. Yeah, it's pronounced differently kind of everywhere, if you will, but it's either Thoth or Thoth.
I'm so glad you had different pronounces too, because I have been through a lot of them before. So I said to the audience there, I'm going to wait for Cody to pronounce it right. So I'm glad that you have different sound vibrations on tooth too. Yeah, Thoth. Yeah.
Yes.
So where should we start? Where do you want to start? With whom do you want to start? Could you start with, before I give you free hands, can you just explain the difference between Ra and Horus?
Yeah, well, I think they're basically different names to different frequencies, I believe. Horus is not technically Ra, I believe. I'm not exactly sure. I know Horus is shaped as the bird, and it would be kind of like similar to Ra, but I'm not sure if they're actually the same.
They are very similar when you are looking at them, but Ra has
Yeah.
his sun disk above his head.
Yes.
And is more connected to the sun god and making his journey through the sky every night. And Horus are more like the wisdom. I just thought there was something more that was distinguished, separated.
Yeah, well, most of the gods that are in Egypt are actually representative of the 42 and 2 chromosomes. So they're basically based off of human DNA. Each god that they would have basically has a representation to one of the chromosomes, one of the things. And so it was kind of been mistranslated yeah, it's been mistranslated like over and over again with the gods and stuff. And that what kind of happened is that Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt a while back ago, once they like started to, separating further apart from each other within, how they do things, the translation of those gods got mixed up and forgotten and all that type of stuff. And so eventually people started actually worshiping them as gods and not symbols of something that is internally within you, the DNA. And each of them having a represented like path or kind of a wisdom to each of the things and how they represent. And so with that, it became 22 and 2 on the upper region that I had with when they had names that are particular, and Lower Egypt had a 42 and 2 that had different names, but basically are the same ones. They just kind of interpreted differently. And then eventually one of the kings merged the two together, merged Upper and Lower Egypt together, had control of it. And now there's 88 gods. And so everybody's just kind of lost. Like, what are we doing here, and so it became quite troublesome in Egypt over the fighting over which gods are actually gods and all that type of stuff. So it became very complicated.
So you can say that the gods became the never-ending story of self dividing themselves. So, but that was kind of interesting because I never heard that they were connected to the DNA, and that almost makes the vibration. You also mentioned the vibration. That was kind of interesting input. I was talking about the collective, that there was not just one, it's more like a collective, but the collective could be a vibration. So I will go with that. And if that is connected, that vibration is connected to the DNA and the chromosome, you could almost say that the original gods actually were what we call chakras, connected to chakra centers.
Yeah, they could be connected with the chakra center. That's more like energetic centers within the body. It's not specifically the seven, which is there's another path of that one.
Yeah.
But also, human DNA, where we're at right now, actually has 44 and 2 chromosomes. So 42 and 2 was kind of the lower stage, if you will, of humans. Humans have gone through different stages of like kind of evolution, if you will, and they're also representative of different stages of consciousness and how you expand and expand. And basically, the kings or pharaohs in Egypt would have 5 names, and each of those names would be representative to the 5 levels of consciousness that you can have on Earth. At least where we're going and where we have been. So the gods were representative, or the 42 and 2 was representative of the first level. And we definitely looked different. We had different consciousness, all that stuff will look different, meaning like height. That's like the biggest difference between these levels of consciousness is physically the height changes. With the first level, most people were only like 4 to 5 feet tall. And now we are getting up to 5 to 6, almost 7 feet for kind of the average, if you will. And then the next one will be up to like 14 to 15 feet. And it just gets bigger and bigger at each level.
That's kind of interesting because that brings my mind to the giants that walk on Earth,
Yes.
historically,
Yeah, and
biblically.
yes, yeah, and there's temples or structures in Egypt that kind of represent it or show it very well, to where some of the statues are 55 feet high, which would be the 5th level, and within this the structures there'll be different heights of all these statues, and each of the heights represents a certain level of the consciousness of the person. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing to.
So we are not in that 5th level yet because we have not
No.
raised the consciousness now. So we are like in the height of the knees.
Yeah, we're on level 2 right now. We've just gone from 1 to 2, and what people are going through right now is trying to get into 3. But 3, it's kind of a different thing. It's going to take a while for people to do, because there's an actual physical change. It's not just consciousness, it's the entire body. Your DNA changes when you go from 44 and 2 chromosomes that we have now. The next 3 is 46 and 2. And some of the new kids that are being born have these extra chromosomes in them, and so they do have the 46 and 2 chromosomes, so they have the possibility of getting to those stages. But because of how the earth energy is right now, and how the magnetic fields and all that type of stuff are all kind of mixed up, it's hard for them to actually achieve that height and that level, if you will.
Do we know when we went from 42 to 44? What time period?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's around 13,000 years ago.
Okay.
Basically, at the fall of Atlantis, if you will.
So
So
it almost like this, every cycle that is the Earth is transforming,
yeah, the precession of the
Lemuria,
equinox.
Atlantis, and we are in the way of making a new transition here. So the next will be, that's kind of interesting. I love that. Please go on.
Yes, yeah, it's a really fun one to think about too, because it's even been shown in Da Vinci's drawings. The Trifluvial man, or the one of his famous drawings of the man that's spread out and has the circle and all that type of stuff around him. That's level 1, where the heights and all that type of stuff are level 1. He has another drawing that is slightly different from that one, which is the level 2. And you can kind of tell that there's a slight difference, where the level 2 seems to be a little bit taller, but still have the same proportions with an importance to phi and Fibonacci and all that stuff. So it's still equally goes in stages, if you will. But yeah, it's cool to think that you can kind of once you get to that level 5. Funny thing too, was it Metatron? In the Bible, Metatron was described as 55 foot high, and he was known as what you will become. Basically, the heights of what you can become is one of the things that he would say is associated with Metatron, and so as it was represented in the Bible and stuff like that. So his representation of being 55 foot tall, and him saying that this is what you will become, this is like the possibility that you can be, is represented or directly connected to those 5 levels, and him being the pinnacle 5 that you can actually be on Earth. Once you get off of 5, you're not physical anymore. You just you're ethereal. You go to different dimensions and all that stuff.
Yeah, you're moving on to the etheric realm.
Yes,
or something like that. Well, that's interesting. Another way of thinking is that these beings from the 5th level really should have some trouble to fit into a human body right now.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's they wouldn't really be able to. They would have to literally change the atomic structure of themselves to be able to have to look human, if you will, to our height. But most of those at the 5th level are also at a higher, consciousness level. Therefore, they can change reality, if you will. Therefore, they can change kind of make the illusion of how high they are. They're kind of put a screen over it to make it so like their energetic actual body is 55 foot, but they can project themselves up to seem like they're 6 foot or something like that. So they have more control ability to do
so. It's more like a avatar, a projected avatar moving around.
Yes.
Kind of fun to play with that thought. There's a never mind, sidetrack. Well, so interesting. And it all started with Ra and Horus. So what are we going to explore next? We haven't even talked about Ra.
Yes, yeah. Ra is part of the 3, like in the human history story, if you will. Right after the fall of Atlantis, the 3 kind of head people, if you will, was Toth, Ra, and Arathoth. Arathoth, actually, it's not. I thought it was Amathoth or something like A-M, but it's A-R-A something. I can never actually pronounce his name or remember it. But those three basically went to three different places on Earth. Toth actually went to a place in Africa. I believe it's like starts with a B or something, Bolivia or something. Uh, was it Amaroth or whatever went to Tibet, and Ra went to Egypt. And Egypt is also at the time or around there the Kundalini spot on Earth. It was kind of the height of spiritual energy, if you will. You know how we have a Kundalini energy that goes up our spine. The Earth also has one, if you will, and wherever that point lands on the surface of Earth, that's going to be like the spiritual high spot of Earth. Like the people that are there are going to be the leaders of spirit, you know, your spiritual journey on Earth for humans. And so at the very beginning, when like the pyramids were built and all that type of stuff, way back when, that was the spiritual high point, if you will, where the Kundalinis went. And so that's why they actually built the pyramids right there, because it was the height of it. And then it eventually moved to Tibet, where it's been the spiritual leaders for about 13,000 years, but it's also changed already. And so now I think it's in like Turkey or something. I don't fully remember exactly where it is now. But yeah, it was an interesting thing with why they go to those specific spots. They went to those spots to help kind of guide the humans on their journey to reach Christ consciousness within the 13,000 period time. You know, they had to really, you know, help us, give us a push and you know, kind of raising our consciousness. But they couldn't do it right away. They had to wait for about like 4,000 years, for maybe 4,300-ish, and to the point where humans would actually be able to like pick up on the stuff that they're kind of giving, you know. And it was an interesting story with how they kind of did that. Is Toth's son Tot, his name Tot, had the Tot Brotherhood, and so it was his son and a group of people that basically would wait at all these different kind of cities that were kind of popping up, if you will, you know, Sumerian, Egyptian, the kind of the beginning civilizations, and they would basically lower their vibration to become 3D, because these people were 4D and higher, so they really weren't technically on our plane of existence. They just had access and knowledge of it. And so they'll drop down, and then they'll physically like walk up to people and be like, hey, if you do this, this happens. And we're just going to kind of give you some knowledge. We might, you know, tell you a story or two about how you became you know, humans, you know, stuff, because we all forgot it, you know, a while back ago. So they're kind of reteaching some of the things that we knew a while ago but had forgot. And so that's kind of where we kind of progressed so quickly, is that they would literally come down and just give us a hand, you know, which is why archaeologists and all that stuff are so baffled by the Sumerians and the Egyptians, because they came out of like nowhere, if you will, and all of a sudden had like mastery of writing. They already had like a full kind of civilization all like complete, and it was like it from nothing to complete writing, and then to like understanding of water and like how it moves, and then they go to hydraulics, and so they stepped up in things, and so it's like immediate step, which most civilizations have this kind of equal curve of knowledge that kind of comes up. But these certain cities or certain places had the immediate step up and immediate step up, immediate step up, and eventually it kind of stopped at like the height, if you will, and then started going down. And because like Egyptians had like a really good understanding when they had the pyramids and the temples and all that type of stuff, and they were really advanced. And then all of a sudden, that knowledge became forgotten over time, and eventually led to their kind of downfall, if you will.
Yeah. So the human minds have been pushed several times during this last period from Atlantis time and forward.
Yes. Yeah.
And we are always sliding back to the
Yes.
zero
Yeah. Well,
point
it's
of
because
no
we're on.
movement.
Yeah. It's because we were like in the same point on the precession of equinox when we were like first waking up, if you will. We have on precession of equinox, the consciousness goes from like a falling asleep period where you kind of forget everything, and it comes back and you wake up and you're like on really, really smart, really, aware, if you will. And then you fall asleep again, wake up, fall asleep. And at that point, we're just waking up. And so uh, they're giving us a push, but we're like falling asleep while they're doing it. We're like,
Yeah.
we got it. No, no, no. We got it. No, no, no. And so, yeah, it was kind of a hard thing for us to do, for them.
So how they are going? How are they are going? How should they approach us this time? Because we
Yes.
are probably falling asleep once again.
Yeah.
But there is no sleeping time this time.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. We're like really like maybe just around the cusp of when we're supposed to be like fully awakened, and we're getting there. And so what's going to happen is instead of them trying to uh, do kind of a broad band of awakening consciousness and stuff like that, they're going to focus on small groups that already kind of get it, and they'll advance them a little bit faster and faster. And so they'll small groups will kind of be able to achieve higher levels of consciousness faster than the general population because they're not focused on the general population anymore. We've already reached a Christ consciousness grid around Earth. It's already been kind of awakened. And so their goal, if you will, at the very beginning of doing all this was kind of complete. They did their mission, and so they don't technically have to be pushing us anymore. Now they're doing it because they want to. It's not like a critical thing to save Earth or anything like that. Earth has been saved. We're good. Now we can focus on expanding further on our own.
So what will happen?
Well, Earth will kind of go through. Well, I should say, human consciousness will go through different cycles as well. Kind of not as severe as the precession of the equinox where we're being fully asleep and way fully asleep. There'll be times of almost like a stair stepping that's going to happen with us, but we are going to do it kind of ourselves. We're not going to have that true push from some beings coming down from the fourth dimension to the third and kind of like, here you go, you got this, type of thing. It's going to be from our own self that we're going to be able to be like, oh, I all of a sudden know this. Oh, I all of a sudden know this because we have access to higher and higher frequencies, higher vibrations, and the knowledge that comes with that is going to be coming more readily and more random, if you will. As well.
So that is more like you are accessing the I am presence, your inner inner guidance, your inner source of light and information.
Yeah,
So
especially it's more individualized rather than collective, even though it's still going to be part of the collective. It's just now it's going to be more individualized to where you kind of have to figure it out yourself. You are their true guidance. You are the path. You can't be having somebody else do your path. You have to do your path.
walk your talk, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So, but that is kind of interesting because well, not because, but I find it very interesting, and that is that so many people are still drawn back to the ancient Egypt. So
Yes.
why is that culture so present in our time loop?
Yeah, well, I would say there's a lot of people that have connections with it from either past lives and all that type of stuff, but it's less about past lives and more about energetic connection, where the pyramids are almost like the center point of the Christ consciousness grid.
Mhm.
That was the starting point, if you will, and all the different temples, all the pyramids and stuff all around Earth are different points on that Christ consciousness grid, and kind of how it was done is that they put these temples all around Earth on the different grids, almost like a circuit board, and those temples had to basically have energy put into them for a certain amount of time for it to actually turn on the grid, if you will. And so that turning on needed to happen within the 13,000 year period that we had to achieve Christ consciousness, which is the grid. And so it's
and more and more of those temples are being found now. And they are located all around the world, and we haven't just seen them yet. And suddenly they are there. And suddenly someone found them and start digging. But we are exploring more and more of these temples all around the world, and we're doing it in this time. So obviously there is a massive what should you call it? Activation within the grid.
Activation. Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's more of a it wanting to be acknowledged, if you will. It's been working. It worked, so to speak. It did what its purpose was, and now I think it's kind of in the higher consciousness of the collective that, hey, we have these connections to these temples, and it's a part of this Christ consciousness grid, this the collective consciousness around Earth, and it might be was it like not full knowledge for everybody. It's kind of hidden, if you will, knowledge, even though more people have access to that information. But it's like, hey, this thing happened. You might want to be aware of it, because being aware of it makes you more aware of the path that has taken for you to be where you are, and the path that you are going to take. And so it's like wanting to have the knowledge be known to more and more people. So yeah, it's kind of drawing out to people to be like, hey, remember this, remember what has happened.
So what can we expect next?
Next is going to be a difficult journey, because we just came out of a
no more difficult journeys. We went through 2023. It's over. Now we want to have flowers and happy lives.
Yeah, technically next year, yes, this year I should say, 2024 is going to be a really good year. It's just I was thinking more broadly, the next 100 years or so, but this next year is going to be actually really good for people. Last year was chaotic. It was a 7-year, and there's a lot of extremes, if you will. This year is an 8, 2 and 2 and 4, 8. And so it's all about balance. It's all about equilibrium, having a path to that kind of, it's not so much extremes going from one to the other. It's more getting right into the middle. And especially in this first month of January, that's 1 and 8, making 9. 9 is basically the completion of a cycle. Therefore, in this first month, it's really good to be completing things, or kind of getting rid of the old and to start the new cycle, getting rid of that cycle to start a new cycle. So it's truly refreshing. Not true, yeah.
And that could be quite a rocky road for some people, because that getting rid of the old could mean so many things.
Yes, very much.
But it could also mean very good things, because we are opening up for new things. So, so now you're talking about a couple of 100 years forward down the ascension path, and could we just tap into the Christ consciousness? Some people may find it odd that we are connecting Christ consciousness with the Egyptian energy, and I guess to understand that it's all vibration, and there is no competition between the collectives on the other side.
Yeah, definitely. It would be kind of weird for someone to be like first listening to this and being like, wait, what does Christ consciousness have to do with Egypt or with Thoth or Ra or any of that? It's a really long story, and it kind of takes a while to fully tell it. But it's basically, in Atlantis, a certain event happened that made it so we kind of went lower in vibration really fast, and then a pull shift happened, and because we were on a lower vibration at that time, it basically did like a memory wipe of the people that weren't ready. They didn't have their Merkabahs up and protecting them, and so it wiped their whole memory, which made them kind of lose the higher consciousness, which is basically a Christ consciousness. And so the whole point of this whole pyramids, and certain temples all around the world and this grid is to have the people, the humans that have had their kind of memory wiped and started from ground zero, level one, you know, uh, to get them to that higher consciousness level so they don't destroy the earth within a certain period of time. Um, and so they had basically, or we had 13,000 years to be able to get to that Christ consciousness point to it'll awaken the Christ consciousness grid around Earth, which would kind of save our race and save the Earth itself and allow us to continue on the path of spiritual and physical evolution and all that type of stuff and become like a true higher species, if you will, or kind of all that type of stuff. So it's basically Egypt was kind of the chosen spot because of the Kundalini thing, that the energy spot of that time. And it's connected as the center point for the entire grid. And Toth, Ra, and Aramoth were the ones that basically designed the grid as a tool to accelerate Christ consciousness development. And because most civilizations, most I want to say civilization, but different Earths or different planets, different races that go through this whole thing on all across the universe. It would take them normally like 100,000 years to be able to get to Christ consciousness if they did it naturally. That's kind of what normally happens. Is it takes a while for them to get up to that level, but we had to do it in 13,000. And so they're like, okay, we need to accelerate this as fast as possible. And so they built the grids and built that grid. And so it kind of helped accelerate that process. And then they also did the whole stepping in from time to time to kind of give them a push and that type of thing. Normally it happens naturally and there is no rush for it, but we had to rush, because we would have destroyed ourselves at a certain point in the future if we didn't get to a certain consciousness level. Yeah.
Well, time is relevant, but it's not relevant. but you are talking a lot about 13,000 years here, and a lot of us have heard that the cycles are about 25,000 years. So could you say that the awakening process has been taking almost 13,000 years here, and we have about 12,000 years to the next cycle, the big cycle, to actually step into the powers of this awakening process and rebuild our new Atlantis, Lemuria, etc. These collectives that once existed on Earth, or what is going on?
Well, basically, it has to do with pole shifts as well because in Earth's past, there have been many pole shifts, and they are getting closer and closer together. And so now the gaps between the pole shifts are around 13,000 years between every pole shift. And so that's kind of what kind of happened is we needed to get to a certain point before the pole shift happened. And because when a pole shift happens and we don't have our Merkabahs up, we don't have like a kind of a protection or something like that during the pole shift, it does basically a memory wipe. And so we start from ground zero again. And so we needed to get to it before we destroyed Earth or before the pole shift destroyed us. So it was very crucial.
So you say that the big event that everybody's waiting for in this essential process is actually the pole shift.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is just around the corner. That has been spoken of since I was of young age in school. They were saying that the pole shift is probably going to happen now, in that meaning that it could be like in this couple of 100 years from now or something, but we definitely are heading there in a rapid space.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems it's not going to be exact 13,000, so to speak. There's always some wiggle room, if you will. We're always kind of rounding up to make it easier to talk about and stuff. And so it could be a little bit longer, could be shorter, but we have done the 13,000 already. We've gone to it. And so now we're a little bit past it, only like 100 or so years, or even less than that, than from that 13. And so it could be any year, so to speak, but I kind of have a feeling it's going to be more than 50 plus. It's going to be a little bit further out than from like right now. And so we don't have to be too worried about it, if you will, because we will be advancing very quickly from this point. And so if we get to that point of the pole shift happening, I'm hoping that the human collective has their Merkabas ready to kind of shield them from the void, the wipe, Um, so yeah.
So one should actually start working on their Merkaba, their own transport vehicle.
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
what why we spent last year talking about the geometric symbols?
Yes, because when you
Right.
understand the geometric symbols, you understand the Merkaba, you understand the frequency at which it's going and how it's connected to the heart space, the higher consciousness, and the body itself. And so it's connected with the DNA, it's connected with everything, because it's not just a transport, it's a tool for evolution, it's a tool for expansion of consciousness. And so when you have it kind of complete, if you will, you will have a complete understanding of it and you use it effectively, then you kind of have reached the level of not quite an ascended master. You're not quite there, but it's like you're higher. You're able to navigate reality much easier, and you're safe from any energetic storm that might happen from the pole shift that would wipe that energy that is connected with the cells in your body, your brain, your magnetics in the body. That kind of gets wiped away with the energy that happens on a pole shift. And so you're connected. You're safe.
Yeah, your soul aspect is safe. Your physical
Yes.
body may be
Mm.
may
Yeah,
be
your physical
swept
body
away
might
in
go.
the
Yeah,
energy.
yes, yes. Yeah, depending
Well,
on where you're at, because a
yeah.
pole shift does affect Earth a little intensely. Yeah.
Well, well, the main thing is that we keep our mind safe.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
will be using it later on. So, well, that was a bit
Sorry, sidetrack
um,
there.
a humor that not a lot of people will
Yes.
understand, but
Yes. Likely. Yes.
I had fun. Well,
Mhm.
so back to these Egyptian gods.
Mhm.
What shall we say more about them?
That's they were very misunderstood, and the original information about each of the gods has kind of been lost in time, and so we kind of don't have a good clear understanding of them. We Egyptologists and all that stuff that have seen them and all that stuff have their own ideas with it. They kind of see the imagery and all that stuff, and then they put a label on it. And so it doesn't really accurately describe what was the main purpose for those gods, which is kind of a guidepost, like when you follow the path of each of these 42 and 2, you kind of understand life. You understand your body, you understand how to interact with reality. So it was almost like a textbook that was they're putting onto the walls of all these temples with all the different gods, and each of them had a different path that you would kind of follow, and you learn about each of them. But now, or at least within the Egyptian culture, it got mistranslated, all that type of stuff, and so now they represent like Amunun, or was it not Amunetrum or whatever. So see, I'm very bad at pronouncing all these. I know it in my head, but I can't say it. Basically, the one that looks like a dog, um,
Anubis?
yeah, Anubis. That's what I was forgetting the A. Anubis. Yeah, he's been represented as the god of death, but it was originally, at least one of them was known where that pathway was supposed to be the path of resurrection. And so it's the path of going through the cycles of death and birth and all that type of stuff. And that's just one of them. But it got mistranslated to him being the god of death. And so they have somewhat similarities to where they actually were, but it's slightly, mistranslated. So we could look at them and try to figure out, which god would represent that. But over time, we've lost the original 42 and 2 because it's gotten merged and then separated and merged together. And yeah.
Hmm. Kind of sad in a way
Yes.
that original the original meaning is so lost in translation. But
Yes.
we all do our own connections, and so do we when we are talking. So I kind of get that too. There are a lot of websites about these gods, and there are names that I haven't recognized before. There is obviously AMUN, and you were talking about AMUN, and you mentioned Anubis, and there is someone called Apis. Apis.
Yeah.
It was a messenger to Anubis, and obviously looked like a bull.
Yeah, the pool one.
Do you know about that?
I've seen it, but I don't know much about the actual history or you know, the specifics, if you will. I've seen the bull, hieroglyphics, if you will, on the
Mm.
temples and stuff before. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure if I fully know that one. Yeah.
And there was also a giant snake, Apophis.
Oh yeah, Apophis. Yeah, I think mm, she was supposed to be one about like poisons or natural disasters and stuff like that. I'm not fully sure. Yeah, I think I know.
And
Yeah.
Aethon. Aethon.
Mm.
Aethon is
Mhm.
obviously a god that replaced Amun. You
Yeah,
see.
close. Yeah,
Or
they're close. Yeah.
Autumn was one of them.
Mhm.
Bastet is one of the
Mhm.
older goddesses.
Yeah, yeah, Batest. Yeah, she was a
Bastet and
warrior goddess, I believe.
Sekhmet.
Yeah. So, yeah. Mhm.
And there's someone called Bes. There's a dwarf god. Uh, Geb, Geib, um, was an earth god. Yeah, there's so many gods here. It's quite
Exactly.
interesting. Some of them has a lot of explanation about them.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
well, we will dive into that later. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yes.
just for a record, Bolivia is in Latin America. So we do know that
But,
we mentioned in
Latin America. Okay.
before. If someone is
Hmm.
picky enough, we are
Yes. Right.
open-minded, so we do know
Mhm.
that we are saying the wrong stuff, but we
Yes.
get along anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, it's yeah.
yeah,
Always take it with a grain of salt because I might not be pronouncing things, and it's always just it's history stuff that I've heard and learned myself. But you kind of take it with how you want, you know.
yeah, open-minded. Do
Mhm.
your own
Yes.
research. That is the best
Mhm.
thing.
Yes.
So that's kind of fascinating. Also, you mentioned that one of the gods is more like the energy drawn to Africa, and one to
Mhm.
Tibet, and the other third one. Where did you say that was located?
Egypt. Yeah.
Egypt.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
so there are two energetic streams in Africa.
Yeah. I'd say yeah because Egypt is in Africa. I think it's like kind of yeah yeah it's right there.
Is that what you call
Um,
it? Upper Africa,
yeah,
Upper
upper
Egypt, and
yeah
Lower. Yeah, okay.
yeah nice.
So that should almost make like a twin pool in Egypt, the old Egypt,
Mhm.
with energies there.
Mhm.
So is that a double helix?
They they might have wanted extra energy there because they knew that that would be like the cradle where a lot of um, civilizations would kind of begin, if you will, after the Atlantis and stuff like that, where a lot of people would probably be driven to would be Africa because it was probably at that time the most fertile place to be. It had a lot of natural resources and stuff, and it kind of would probably remind them a little bit of Lemuria with some of the fauna and stuff. Because Egypt was basically a jungle by the time that when Toth and all them kind of visited it. It was actually called Kim or Him. Like it's a Him or whatever. It's in Khem was the original name for where the Gaza plateau is right now, and that was just a jungle, just full, stuff. And so it looked a lot better back then, and so a lot of people would probably be drawn to that. But then it kind of changed over time.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything more you want to share?
Let's see, yeah. No, there's stuff about like the mystery schools and stuff, and
Oh, please go ahead.
yeah, yeah. In Atlantis, one of the kings there started a mystery school that was teaching the Lemurians how to get up into the ascended master level, the Nikos, to the higher level. Basically, in Atlantis, there's only like 1,000 or so ascended masters, as what you call them, ascended masters. I believe their actual name would call started with the N, like Netivolos or Netivolos or something. It's E something, and there's only like 1,000 of them, and then there's like 1,000,000 or something actual Lemurians. And so what the mystery school started was to get those Lemurians ascended into the ascended masters, where you kind of become immortal, if you will, and at least in the sense of you can take care of your body so well that you can choose when to die. You can live really, really long, or you can, be like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to move on. And so they have complete control over their reality, if you will. And so those were started there, and the mystery schools extended basically to when Lemuria, or when Atlantis fell and they kind of all got separated and stuff like that, to different parts of the world. And one of the more well-known ones is actually in Egypt, where it was Akhenaten, not Akhenaten. Yeah, was it? No, it was one of the first actual pharaoh, from going from a king to a pharaoh, was this guy that was like 14 foot tall, 14, 15 foot tall. And he basically changed that many gods thing into a one god ruling. And he used the representation of the sun disk as the one god. And I believe he started with the A, so I think it was like
Akhenaten.
Yeah, Akhenaten or something. Yeah. He seems like he came out of nowhere, and just like ruled for 17 years, and then they killed him off because they didn't like that one god rule thing. And so he started a mystery school in Egypt, and within that 17 year time, he was able to get 300 people or more to the ascended master level, to the immortality kind of level. And from there, those 300 scattered and continued their mystery schools, if you will. And one of them was in around Israel, like the kind of Middle East, if you will. And that mystery school had many students that ascended, and two of them are actually quite well known. And those two would be called Mary and Joseph. And those two would birth Jesus, or Joshua, as his actual name was. But it was a really cool story to get back into the before Bible times, if you will, and how it kind of came to be, because whole Virgin Mary and all that type of stuff. Well, she could have been a virgin because they were ascended masters, and they could basically do the it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like multidimensional intercourse, if you will, and to be able to birth this higher being that came in. And
because the ancient words means a lot of different things. So this
Yes.
pure, it could also mean purity, like the
Yes.
high vibration as of pureness, godlike, or whatever you
Yes.
want to call it. So that
Mhm,
is this with open mind. Well, I
mhm,
didn't see that coming there, but
mhm,
that makes a lot of sense, Cody,
yeah.
because when they are talking about Jesus, when he went up in age, he took a pilgrim's walk, if you want to
Mhm,
call that, and
mhm.
dived right into the mastery of magic, if you want to
Yep.
call that. He disappeared,
And
yeah, and that
yeah.
is that they don't know.
Mhm,
They do know that he disappeared
mhm,
because there is
mhm,
writings
mhm.
telling that he went missing for some
Yeah.
times, and when he
Yeah. Like,
came back,
yeah.
he was a different person, still the same body, but he
Mhm,
was a different
mhm.
person and with a different concept of mind. So
Yes.
he
Mhm,
was definitely. So that
mhm,
was oh, so he sort of that was his heritage from his
mhm.
mom and dad.
Yes, yeah, they helped teach him, but he also went on the journey to what many believe is Tibet, where the spiritual center would have been at that
Mm,
point. And so he was gone for 18 years. Like even in the Bible, he goes from like a little kid to 30. It's just,
mhm.
little kid to 30, and many people just overlook it. They're like, oh, that's, whatever. But if you're going to be writing a story, 18 years is a pretty big jump. And so it's kind of bad story writing, if you're
Yeah.
actually just writing a story. But yeah, he literally went off and became basically like a guru. Like you said, it's just a master of magic, a ascended master himself. And so he gained all that knowledge and then went on to do all the stuff that he did, which is help people, all that stuff. But he was also doing it to also act as like a tool of progression or like ascension to help people, have the Christ consciousness grid uh, to further development. Yeah, sorry. Water. Okay. Mm. Yeah, he acted as a tool to help with the next level of this Christ consciousness to help out. Um,
Mm,
and Christ's the whole name was made way before Jesus became known as that. His obviously his actual name was Joshua, and so he gained that title. But the original word is Christola, Christola, which is derivative of the seven initial tones of frequency, if you will. It's like Kasala, but it's basically Chrisala got separated over time to Christ and Allah. So Christ and Allah, even though they're technically the same word, it just got you know cut up. You know, so
mm.
that's it.
I
Mhm,
actually got goosebumps when you were talking
mhm,
about this. That's
mhm,
so
mhm, mhm.
interesting.
Right.
Oh, please go on.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It is interesting how we've kind of associated different names as well with different people. Like Buddha, Buddha's not his name. He was a prince and he had a completely different name. And he gained the title of Buddha because it's known as an awakened one. Christ is the same thing, is basically an awakened one, or God, if you even want to say. And so, yeah, it's all these names that we kind of associated with these spiritual leaders technically aren't their actual names. They're just titles that got
Mm,
given to them.
yeah.
Um, and there's also three that came from that as well. Christ wasn't the only one. There was Muhammad and the third one, which I've forgotten, but basically just as the same as Toth, Ra, and Aramoth, the three that kind of went out to go and originally start this like Christ consciousness grid to accelerate. During that time, there was also three more that came up that were more human level or like on our actual dimensional plane that helped out. So they kind of act as this middle way, Um, and so
Yeah.
it was cool.
I kind of got those three names here earlier when I did Google. I think
Mhm.
Set was one of those.
Yeah, I believe Seth. Yeah, so it's
Amun
father.
Ra, they connected the Ra and Amun went in to become Amun Ra as one entity. So it was Amun Ra, Seth, and someone else.
Yeah, sure.
Well, never mind.
Yeah, that's funny because I believe Amara was a moon god or as well. I'm not sure. Some reason
Yeah.
my mind is going on
That
different
is all
tangents.
this information you can
Yeah,
Google, but you will
yeah,
get
that's right.
so many
Hmm.
pages with different or similar information. So you have to make up your own mind. Yeah, I'm just going to pop in. Is you do know that I get some images in my head sometimes when we're talking,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
hope this was a joke from
Hmm.
from the collective. When you were talking
Hmm.
about how this mastery school took place,
Hmm.
and the teaching of the Lemurians and how
Hmm.
to become immortal. I just got this picture of these pharaohs or people who are got this balsamering. I don't know what you call it in English. When they remove in organs, the heart,
Oh, gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah, like
within,
mummification type thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
put it in.
The jars. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Hmm. Hmm.
I do the science and you do the
Hmm.
translation.
Hmm.
So I just got this image of the pharaoh lying there with the vessels with his heart and everything and lying
Hmm.
there because he already mastered the concept of do this preservation of his macabre, his mind. He's preserving his mind within his macabre, and they are going to come back to Earth to start teaching again, and when going down to the
Gotcha.
pyramids,
Yeah.
and they are not there anymore. Well, I
Hmm.
hope that was a joke. It was a joke. It is a stupid joke, but it's kind of fun the way
Yeah.
how it
Well,
got projected in my head. Yeah,
yeah, it
surprise.
comes back. Yeah, it comes back to Osiris. Actually, that kind of brought up Osiris, where the story of Osiris, where his brother cut him up and scattered his limbs and all that stuff all across the lands and stuff, and his sisters gathered all his parts and brought it back together. And when they brought it back together, his life force came back into him and became reawakened. And so his path of going from dead to alive. Uh, but Osiris wasn't necessarily just an Egyptian character. He actually came from Lemuria and from, well, technically Atlantis. He was an Atlantis Lemurian there and went into the mystery schools, and he got to the Ascended Master level in Atlantis from the
Mm.
original. And so he was already at that level and then went to Egypt with Ra. And he was there and they had that cutting up of things, and actually that whole story happened in Atlantis, not in Egypt. And so that's kind of what happened is, like, I guess he got extended, his brother didn't or something. I don't know the full story, but he got cut up and spread apart, and the sisters brought it back together, and he came back to life, fully animated, all that type of stuff. And from that, the Nabrus, or the Ascended Masters, found a way to be able to teach people how to get into the ascended state quicker than what they were doing before because of his story. And they were able to find that you could basically cut yourself apart and then come back together. And once you come back together, you become immortal. You become this ascended master person, but you don't have to physically cut yourself apart. They just found a way of teaching it, basically.
Mm, that's that's fascinating. That is the image of this green. Osiris is
Yes.
often painted green.
Yeah.
He's
Yes.
there, he's physical, but he's
Hmm.
not there because he's
Hmm.
dead. Um, yeah, transcended or whatever you want to call. Yeah, interesting story behind that. I also
Hmm.
get this picture of Frankenstein. That is a modern
Yes.
version of
Yes.
Osiris.
Yeah,
You say
yeah,
that.
basically. Yeah, you could definitely say that, but I'm pretty sure Frankenstein has a multiple different body parts from different people altogether, and therefore it would be an
Yeah, it was a bit of
amalgamation of,
schizophrenic.
yeah, yeah. He would have multiple personalities and
Yeah,
all this stuff going on.
yeah, definitely. But in the end, he had a heart and he had a
Yes,
mind.
yes.
So and he actually met his twin flame somewhere down the road
Yes,
too.
yes, right. Right.
Well, that's kind. They kind of
Mhm,
fun. There was a lot of humor. They are feeling in a good humorous way today, and I love that
mhm,
energy. So yeah, or so what they are
mhm,
telling us with all of this is that we need to focus on the things that we are going to keep and preserve to take with
mhm,
us and try to focus upon these energies as they are, vibrations and energies, doing our Merkaba meditations so we will enhance the energy there. And we will don't have to be afraid of losing our bodies because we will find a way to get the body parts back together if
yes.
that is the case
Mhm,
of
mhm,
of your attachment to your body. Well,
mhm,
interesting.
mhm.
Well,
Yeah, we
it
went
was
on a full
this
journey
was
there.
this was one of the funniest chats we have had
Mhm,
for a long time. I think.
yes.
Um, oh, this is so much to process. Is there more? Of course there is. Is there more you want to share
Yes.
right now?
Um, I don't know. Yeah, we could definitely go on and on, but I think it uh, might be time to kind of slow it down a bit and
Mm-hmm.
come down, especially ending on more of a light note. The happier, fun,
Yep.
humor stuff is better than going deep into some,
Yep.
thought process.
I
Right?
agree. So you are still doing your magic with the distance healing, or do you have a special meditation?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing a crystal healing one, but there's two that are on both my sides, and uh,
That's a double helix.
this yeah, right. And so I'm like, I'm not sure exactly which one wants to fully, do the thing, but I'm pretty sure, like you said, it's a double helix. I need to be using both of them at the same time, which will be a first for me because I usually don't do multiple crystals at the same time.
Well,
So
there's
it'll be
always a time for something new.
yes, right. Yes, and these ones are one that we've done before, which is my crystal ball, the clear crystal ball. I thought this one would be a really good one because it's like clear as clarity. It's like all possibilities, if you will, you know. And the other one is a newer crystal that I got, and it is quite beautiful, honestly. I'm not sure if you can see.
Oh, it's
Uh,
like a geode. This
Yes, a geode. Yeah, but you can't really get to see the light, man. The light needs better. But basically, it's what's called an angel aura crystal or quartz. And when it hits the light, it basically looks like diamond. Like it's pure sparkly diamond.
beautiful. And let me
Mm,
tell you one thing, angels has been on my mind almost
mm,
for the whole day. There has been
mm,
angel pictures, there has been
mm,
old stuff that I have done with angels that have popped up in my consciousness, and now you're talking about the angel aura. And I love that. Mm.
and must been knowing that you have the angels and said, "Oh, put me in there too. Come on."
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
Mhm. All right, so I need to grow and grab this one. Oh, I'm gonna have to scoot it over a little. Yeah, that's gonna be difficult. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's a heavy one. I'm gonna have to move.
So you're actually going to use your both hand to remove that? Oh, that's the
Yes.
whole set there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This one. That one.
I
Okay.
think everybody saw that one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I just need to get back into this issue. Okay. 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 All right. So yeah. So I'll be using this one in tandem with this one.
Oh, lovely.
Mhm. Let's see how it works. Okay. doesn't know, I'm going to be doing basically crystal healing or crystal energy healing. And if you're wanting the energy, just verbally or consciously say that you accept this energy and it will come to you. If you don't, then that's fine. It won't touch you. Ending up there.
That could have gone on.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't get any
Yeah.
clear images. Sometimes I get these sequences of images that are so easy to talk about, but this was more like fragments of words and feelings. There was a lot about structures, family structure, relation. It could be family or friends or whatever, and this duality, but also a bit of what you mentioned earlier, this with walk your talk. that you're centering yourself. No, didn't have so much to do with the spiritual ascension, but in a way it's a part of it too. It's more what's going on in the physical body right now. It was this merge of the masculine aspect that actually took a huge step forward, and the feminine fell back a bit, and then they started to merge together once again. So this balance started to flow. So I'm not quite sure what I should make out of it, but you usually can sum it up, Cody.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with doing the two crystals today, there was a lot of time of trying to balance it out. Like you said, it took a little bit of time for me to connect with them as well. So it took a little bit longer. But one, like you said, would kind of go forward, and then the other would kind of go forward, and then they finally would kind of meet. And then the angel aura one was kind of unique to where I had it up like this, and it was pulsating through my hand, or like forward. So my hand would pulsate, it would go through this, and it would be projecting out basically, which is usually kind of opposite, where usually energy will be coming into me and then you come out of the heart or just the whole being, you know. But this one was focused definitely out of the hand going through. And while doing that, I couldn't move it really. Like if I tried to move it, there was a strong, like almost magnetic resistance to movement. Um, and so it was kind of stuck in place. And then I found that I could actually just slightly move. And when I was slightly moving, I was slightly moving the energy in the body itself, to where I was doing slight circles, and I was doing basically not a circle like this way, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so it wasn't, you know, vertical, it was yeah, horizontal, if you will. And so I was moving the energy up basically in a spiral through the body. And then once that kind of felt good, then I would just move it up like this, where I'm just going a straight line through. So it's like completing a spiral and a straight through energy within the body. So that was interesting.
So that is where the balance is coming in.
Mhm.
You sort of balance the masculine and the feminine within.
Yeah.
I'm calling it masculine and feminine, but it's this
Yeah.
vibration.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. That was pretty physical this time.
Yes, definitely. It was a lot more physical. There's barely any imagery that I got. I only got like one image, which was just the normal thing that I kind of would see is the tunnel of energy, like how much energy is left, or like how much
Mm.
it can go on. Um, and this one kind of seemed like it can go on for much longer than I was going through it. But then it tapered out really quickly, so it was like it could really go on, but we're just gonna end it here. So.
Mm.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah,
beautiful. Very,
yeah,
very beautiful. And it's all connected to what we've been talking about. If you are, if you have listened to this chat that we have been doing, you will definitely feel the energies are connected to some of the topics that we have been talking about. Um, may not make any sense at the beginning, but there are definitely a connection there, and it's a strong connection, and definitely can feel that. So I'm going to trust that one. So do this meditation once again if you have the opportunity, because I think it will actually be not repeating itself, but it will, you know, move forward.
change.
Yeah, to take it to the next level once again, and so on. So I'm actually going to do this meditation in later on again and see what's happening. So
Mm.
yeah, so we are going to let that be the cue to say thank you for today.
Mhm.
Thank
Yes,
you,
thank you.
Cody.
Yeah, thank you as well. Yes, it's been nice.
Yeah, and we will be
Mhm.
back like in 2 weeks
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
something. That it
yeah,
works for
yeah,
you. Good. So thank you everybody for tuning in to this wonderful episode with Cody Bryce and the Egyptian gods, Ra, Moon, and
Toth.
yeah.
Yes.
So see you in 2 weeks, and we will have a great topic for you then. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.